The information provided on this show does not, and is not intended to, constitute legal advice. Instead, all information on this show is for general informational purposes only. The information provided is not a substitute for legal advice, and we recommend viewers consult an attorney for specific legal matters.
And welcome to Condo Craze and HOAs on our new night, Thursdays at 7. Thank you for joining us. I'm Karen Curtis, and of course, joined by Eric Glazer. It's his show.
Good evening.
He's excited to be here on a Thursday.
Weird, right?
Yeah.
Weird.
It is.
But we're here.
But we're happy to be here. And, we're live each Thursday now at 7 instead of on Sundays at 11, as we were for 16 years. But anyway, we're on YouTube. We have our show thanks to our sponsors who are just fantastic. They truly offer you the best. This is for you. And best services in South Florida, including our diamond sponsor, Best Roofing. They help
Thanks
you
to
out.
all of them.
They help you out.
Certainly do. But everyone has been amazing for 16 years.
They've been with us the whole time.
And we're here because of them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They make it possible.
So again, I'm Karen Curtis, and Eric is board certified in Florida by the Florida Bar and Community Association Law. You were just meeting with Vicki Lopez.
Yeah,
she
addressed the bar today, and then we'll talk about it. Okay. Absolutely.
And you specialize in plan development law. You have a firm here in Fort Lauderdale, one in Orlando. So we're here each week to answer all your calls and your chat box questions or emails that you send to Eric about issues that make life in your condominium or HOA absolutely crazy from 1 minute to the next. And we'd love to get those phone lines going. We do have a guest, a actual wonderful guest, but we would like to get the phone lines going as well. And the number is 717-GLAZER-8. That's with a Z. 717-452-9378. And you can visit us on our channel here and ask a question in the chat box. And thanks for following us to Thursday night.
Yes, absolutely. It's great. And of course, if you're a fan of the show, don't forget to subscribe to two things. Number one, the Condo Craze and HOAs channel on YouTube. You don't have to just watch the show live. I think we have something like 120 shows now in our archive. Really appreciate you tuning in and asking your questions there in our chat box. And of course, subscribe to our email list at condocrazeandhoas.com. We have 20,000 people now just to law, copies of our newsletters, and a whole lot more. And Karen, where are we?
Don't forget.
Yes.
We are on the socials. Yes, we are. So you can follow the show on Facebook, TikTok, Apple, Spotify.
All right. We do a blog every Monday morning also for about the last 16 years at hoa-condoblog.com. And I urge everybody to read it, especially if you're a member of the board of directors. And it was published on Labor Day. And I do a blog every single Labor Day called The Labor Day Tradition Continues. And it's a story about a day in the life of a board member, especially on Labor Day. And it's a tribute, actually, to all of those board members who work very hard throughout the year.
Nice.
All right. Again, Karen and I just want to welcome you to our first Thursday night show after 16 years of being here on Sunday mornings. Put down that remote. You can record Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy. We're competing against them.
No, you got Thursday night football. NFL starts tonight, but we'll be done.
Oh, we'll be done by then. Right.
City of Baltimore.
Oh, okay. And, we really have a very special hour. And we've been spending a lot of time on the show over the last couple of weeks. Actually, not just a couple of weeks. A couple of years now, I guess, at this point, talking about mandatory inspections, mandatory repairs, mandatory reserves. And all of the costs that come with all of that. And our position on this show has been very clear, couldn't be clearer. It is what it is at this point. And all of it is necessary. And well, today we have a very special guest with us in the studio, and that's Martin Langesfeld. And Martin lost his sister and his brother-in-law in the collapse of the Champlain Towers in June of 2021. And has certainly been outspoken about this very topic since then. So I want to welcome to the Condo Craze show a very special guest. Thank you for coming here, Martin.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you.
It's an honor and a pleasure. Words can't say how sorry we are. The death of your sister and brother-in-law. There's just, what can I say?
They were on the 8th floor.
Yes.
His sister had just gotten married. They were living there for 3 months,
Yeah.
and she was working at the time this thing collapsed. It's just mind-boggling
Yeah.
to
you're-
to know
It's
what
not
you
a
went through.
position that you'd ever expect to be in,
No.
ever. You know, you work your entire life to purchase your dream home, your dream
Yeah.
apartment, and that's where you feel you're safest.
Sure.
If you're a parent, you expect your child to go home and say, I'm home, and you can rest easy.
Sure.
And for that to be the place where they took their last breath,
Terrible.
it's horrible.
Tell us about your sister and your brother-in-law. We'd love to know a little about them.
Nikki was 26 years old, and Louis was 28 years old. She recently became an attorney, recently married, moved into that building 3 months prior.
Her whole life was at it.
Her whole life was ahead of her. She worked her entire life to become an attorney. She got into the firm of her dreams and
What was her specialty?
commercial litigation,
Really? Yeah. Commercial litigation. Oh, fantastic.
and
Yeah.
ready to start her life.
Well, after the collapse, I know the public found out and the board was notified. We found out that the board was notified in 2018 that at that time, the building needed a few $1 million in repairs to the pool deck, to the underground parking. And the condo, obviously, at that time, didn't have enough money for the job. So they waited and they waited. And now we get to June 2021. And the job at that point ballooned to $15 million.
But the
Because-
building was safe, right?
Yeah, that's according to the building official, right? So now the job truly became much more massive than it was in 2018. You know, forget the money for a moment, though. How do you feel about the fact that even though there was such a serious defect in 2018 we knew that this place was in bad shape, but the repair simply wasn't made. They weren't forced to make the repair in 2018. Why? That's what bothers me to this day.
It's mind-boggling how it's painful to hear that you're getting a $100,000 or $200,000 special assessment, and that happened. Nikki's in her apartment. It was owned by Lewis's grandfather, Nikki's husband, who also passed. They paid $90-something thousand as a special assessment.
Wow.
This is alarming. If your building has a $10 million, $15 million special
Yes.
assessment, it's for a reason. There's
course.
clearly something very wrong. But the problem is, who approved these inspections? How did it go
Right.
20, 30, in this case,
Yeah.
40 years
Yes. Yeah.
without no one saying there's something wrong
I
here?
saw the engineering report that was done in 2018, and it was pretty clear, I mean, very clear, quite frankly, that the building was in danger and they needed to make the repairs. What wasn't on the report was that if you didn't make these repairs, the building was going to collapse.
Right.
There's no question about it that there couldn't be more of a warning, but of course, you know, there wasn't on there that says the building is going to collapse. No one expected that, but I can tell you, you know what's on reports now? If you don't make these repairs, the building, I've seen it, the building
Oh, they
faces the
have
potential
to.
for collapse.
Yeah.
Oh, that collapse changed a lot of things.
And it's sad that it came at the cost of 98 lives.
Because,
Why?
right,
And-
listen, we're going to get into that. I can tell you on this show, I have fought well before this collapse to have mandatory repairs. I'm going to go off script here. Little story in at the same exact time that the building was told by the engineer that it needs work in May of 2018, and there was the assessment. I think that time was $5 million to do the job. Well, that same exact time, coincidentally, I went to a board meeting in Sunrise with the elderly community. The population was elderly, and that night they were only going to pass a special assessment for $300 to fix some plumbing problem. That's it. You heard me right. A $300 one-time special assessment. That's it. Sounds simple, right? Easy. Well, I had people on fixed incomes come to me that night begging me, Mr. Glazer, please don't let them do this to us.
Well,
Please. That night, you can check it out for yourself. That night, I wrote a blog and I sent to every member of the Florida legislature saying just how much Florida is in trouble. If people can't pay a lousy $300 special assessment, what's going to happen when there's a $3,000 special assessment?
Or
$30,000 or $90,000, right?
and that's what we're seeing now.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying,
But
right?
what you're saying is the issue in itself. They're begging the board members, do not charge
Yes.
us these $300.
Right.
Okay.
Right,
They
and we
wanna
won't
get-
do it.
They want to
There
get
you
voted
go.
in again. So
Yes.
let's push it back and push it back.
Man
and push
hit the
it back.
nail on the head.
And
They had the authority to just say, okay, no problem, we won't do it.
It's a very big problem. You purchase your home your apartment 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Yep.
And now you're stuck with the burden of the people who purchased this,
Who
Of
pushed
course,
it down
of
the
course.
road.
pushed it down the road, never paid a
Of
special
course.
assessment.
Well, the thinking always was that especially with elderly people, why am I going to spend money on a roof that I probably am never going to see? Well, the joke you always make is, so sorry you lived, right? Your luck ran out. You lived.
Yeah.
And, now you have to come up with the money. But I was begging the legislature in June of 2018, please pass some form of mandatory reserves. I think my suggestion at the time was, if it's too complicated the way we do the regular procedure, where you have to figure out how long a component's going to last and do the math, about just 10% of the budget has to go to reserves. Do something. They did nothing.
What was their reason?
Because I can tell you, there was an even greater lobby against making reserves mandatory. An even greater
Who
lobby.
was lobbying?
Let's say a lot of law firms and a lot of associations that claim to be for the owners.
Oh,
Well, let's just say it turned out that you really weren't for the owners, obviously, if you were advocating for not funding reserves.
are you an attorney?
No.
Okay, and when the building collapsed and you lost your sister and brother-in-law, you went to work.
I
What
went
did
to-
you do?
We're going to talk about that, but as a matter of fact, right now, so we have something in common that I didn't even know, and I want to take you back to when the Florida legislature was in session, right? They were in session right after the collapse. The first time that they were, we all expected at that legislative session, they were going to come, we spoke about it how many times
yeah.
in the show. They're going to come out with obviously so many new safety laws, so many new inspections.
This is beginning of 2023.
Correct. They're going to come out with mandatory reserves. They're going to come out with it all, because they're certainly not going to spit in the face of the 98 victims. So I'm watching the legislature obviously very carefully that session, and you can tell everybody what you know. What happened when
was
the
bad.
legislature was in session?
Well, really nothing.
Nothing. They went home. They adjourned without
Were you up
having
there?
any
Yes,
deal.
many times.
You were there. You were advocating to do something.
And I went there. I'm not a politician. I'm
Yeah,
not an
no,
attorney.
you're not.
I'm just someone who lost their family
Right.
there. And I'm showing a face because people forget. You hear these catastrophes
Right.
happen and you say, oh, that's sad. That's unfortunate.
Scan, discard, move on.
Yeah.
But no, because it could happen again.
That's right.
Yeah, of course. I freaked out. I literally freaked out when the legislature went home without having a deal reached on anything, literally on anything at all. I can't imagine how you felt.
It was, the reason I got involved was because after the collapse, you would expect the developers to be held liable
Yes.
more once
Or
they build
criminally
anything.
responsible.
What was going on was Senate Bill 736 at the time with Senator Hudson. They were pushing this bill, trying very hard to push this bill that dropped accountability from developers from 10 years down to 4 years.
Yes.
Meaning you're the developer, you develop your building, 6 years, 7 years later, the building collapses, kills who knows how many people.
It's not
You're
on
off the
you.
hook. You're off the hook, right?
And instead of after a collapse like that, you would think we're going to raise it from 10 years.
Yeah.
Yes,
That was
yes.
actually pending in the legislature at the time.
Well,
It was
that's I went
insanity.
to testify against that bill many times.
To go from 6 to 4?
No, against it.
oh.
Yeah.
Do not pass this
Do not
bill.
pass
Right,
this
but that
bill,
was
yeah.
the bill to make it even a short amount of time?
Well,
Imagine after the collapse of the building,
That was
the
it.
developers
Make it
had the
shorter.
nerve to go in front of the legislature and want their potential liability reduced from 6 years to 4.
Yeah.
It was unfair.
Oh, I believe it. I
And that really showed me, wow, this is why the building collapsed. There is a much bigger issue that we can't see.
And there's no accountability here.
There's no
Zero.
accountability. I mean, the building killed 98 people.
Right.
No
Yes.
criminal
Right.
investigation open. Who's looking over the inspectors when a building
Yeah.
gets inspected? Who's looking over the condo board members?
Yeah.
Wait, that guy that said it was safe, he's got a new job where?
City of Hollywood.
Hollywood. He works in Hollywood.
Right. They
Okay.
just, go from one jurisdiction to the next, it seems. I want you to know what we did here. Okay. It's important for me to know that you know what we've done here. The night that the legislature broke and went home without one single new statute that would have done anything for safety or for reserves, I wrote a letter to Governor DeSantis that night, that very night. And I let him know on uncertain terms that the legislature including his own party, which dominates the legislature, spit in the face of the 98 victims.
Was this before or after 60 Minutes that you were on when they were trying?
That was, this was before 60 Minutes.
Okay.
And and I could not believe that your own party threw you under the bus like that. And that if another building collapses on your watch, your political career is over.
And it's on you.
You better do something.
More importantly, it's on you.
No question.
Blood is on your hands.
Absolutely. So in addition to that, I just learned that you and I have something in common. I saw a fantastic video of you on CBS News on the Jim DeFeedy show. Tell us about that.
Yeah, Jim DeFeedy was, he's someone you want on your side.
Yes.
And those are the reporters that push for, they're in that seat for a reason. They have the cameras, they
Sure.
can put the pressure in the right way. And he was shocked. He was shocked when nothing was passed. And I went on that show. I spoke with him many times throughout the session.
Yes.
And he put a lot of pressure where it had to be. And thankfully, after a lot of reporters got involved, unfortunately, the only way to make these things happen is when the media's putting pressure.
Sure. So
and
you know
they
what?
opened a special session.
So what I didn't know is I don't know who went first, you or me. But I was also, Jim DeFeedy gave me a whole show as well. And I bashed the hell out of the Florida legislature.
Well deserved at that point.
Absolutely. So I just want you to know it's a coincidence. You and I were both on the Jim DeFeedy show. It had to be back to back.
I'm sure everything was in the span of right after the session closed.
Yes, exactly. All this happened within a week. It happened fast.
Yeah.
So me and you were bashing them on the Jim DeFeedy show. I was bashing them like in a lot on this show. They were getting a little bashed in the media for doing nothing. And lo and behold, the governor calls everyone back into session. But I don't know if you remember, he did it under the guise of fix the insurance crisis.
Right,
Well,
right.
They didn't fix the insurance crisis, but we got a condo deal. So I'd like to think you and I both have something to do with that. We work very, very hard.
And I hope that makes an impact, because that was making that special session
Yes,
come into
that was
reality.
amazing.
And that was not easy.
No, it wasn't at all, but it was great.
It was a lot of pressure from all angles, not
And
one.
not many people were happy with you at the time.
No.
Some people were not happy.
No, I got a lot of phone calls saying, do not do this, stop. And why?
Yeah.
You know, my
Boils down to money.
killed.
How come
And
you're the bad guy?
Yes.
Your sister's
how am I
dead.
the bad person in this? And,
Yeah. But
and this isn't to make living in condos expensive. This is to make living in condos safe.
Of course.
And don't kick the can down the road.
So again, we said on this show. So when I grew up in Brooklyn, there were commercials for like Century Village that says, "Come on down, and for $200 a month, you can have tennis and
Red
boating
Skelton?
and right, exactly, right, and you can have all of the Skelton the buttons. I still don't get red buttons." And he was saying for $200 a month, you can have golf and entertainment and all. And your assessments would be $200 a month. And the truth is, that was a lie. The true number was $200 plus your share of $30 million in construction repairs when the building needs to be fixed. The problem always was that developers, and Florida kisses the butts of developers for the last 30 years, like just whenever they possibly could. The legislature just does whatever the developers want. The developer says jump, and the legislature says how high. That's what it's always been. So the developers were always able to pass a fake budget. Okay, when they sold new condominiums.
What about now? Can they do that?
Now you have to disclose mandatory reserves now.
Okay, and
For the
then,
first time, now you know what the real cost of living in a condominium is for the first time.
but also, in addition to that, do developers have to build to a certain standard now? So that in
there's
30
no
years it's going to
question.
fall down?
There's no question the building code has changed
Good.
dramatically, but a lot of that is the result of not the collapse of
Okay.
Champlain Towers.
Okay.
A lot of that is the
Hurricane.
result of Hurricane Andrew. After that, tremendous change to the building code, but
that's
tremendous
30 years
change,
ago.
right? But tremendous change to reserves, tremendous change to mandatory inspections, tremendous change to making mandatory repairs. But it took the loss of your sister, took the loss of your brother-in-law, and it took the loss of 96 other victims to get where we are today. But now we have all of those things that I just mentioned. So, I want you to know, and telling you, I believe this from the bottom of my heart. Those victims did not die in vain. When the legislature closed without coming up with a deal, that's exactly how I felt. Now that all of this is done, no, they did not die in vain. What they did for the future of Florida is incredible. Those 98 victims should be so honored.
And you said it's a template for the rest of the country, too.
Yeah, there's no question. Absolutely. This is not something that's just unique to Florida, where buildings are going to get old.
There's millions of condos across the nation.
On the water.
Exactly. So now we keep hearing now that it's become unaffordable. Look what we did. We made condos unaffordable. You can't live in a condo anymore that's 3 stories or taller because you're going to have mandatory inspections, mandatory reserves. And now, after all the craziness in the beginning, there's people that want the governor to go the other way. There's people that want the governor to call a special session now to take away all the things that the 98 victims died for. They said, now it's too expensive. Can you please remove now mandatory inspections? Can you please remove now mandatory reserves?
No.
I can't imagine what you think when you see that.
I mean, I'm happy that session isn't opening up again.
No, it's not.
It's not.
Just real quickly.
This just isn't the place where you want to be.
Well, what do you feel? What's your opinion when it comes to safety over dollars or dollars over safety?
When that session closed, the first session, it showed that profits were more important than lives, mostly.
Of course. Of course.
And this just goes all back to day one. How are these buildings with faulty inspections getting approved, mostly?
Right.
And then you get that debt and that pain 40 years later with these hundreds of thousands of dollars in special assessments.
Yes.
There has to be pressure on the county as well, on the state of Florida, looking over these members, looking over these inspectors.
Oh,
and the developers. Make sure they build it right in the beginning, right?
Yeah, well, that goes to who the inspector approving this.
Right.
But it's not just his word, and that's what happened in Champlain as well.
Well,
let's look over them.
Let's remind everybody what happened in Champlain Towers for a minute. And Rob, I know you know this as much as anybody. And if you don't mind, maybe I'll go to you. Because Rob lives in the building like next door, right? And
he was videotaping
Rob, the
whole
pictures
thing right
that Rob
after it
has are
happened.
just incredible. There was an inspector at the time that even showed up at, I believe, board meetings of Champlain Tower South to address the community about the condition of the building before it fell, obviously. And what did that inspector say in front of the whole community?
He said it was in very good condition.
Oh.
Can you imagine? Very, very good condition just before it fell. And, as you would think there would be accountability for that.
And that
This is the guy in
inspector
Hollywood.
works for
I
the
understand.
county.
That
At the time, or?
That's the Surfside inspector, Ross Prieto.
Oh, well.
Who now works in Hollywood.
and
No,
from what I understand, there's been nothing, no consequences whatsoever for telling, you had, now think about it. You had an engineer that's saying this building is in terrible shape. Despite that, you now have the building official saying the building's in good shape.
well, I didn't know that.
Hard to believe.
So you're getting threats, you're getting letters, and this guy probably hasn't gotten one letter from anybody.
Right. I know, because these new laws have cost people money. Just real quick, you've gotten some threats about it. People don't like how you've been advocating. I understand.
Yeah, well, this was when I was pushing for the special session, and after that as well, they did not want to speak in. They did. I don't know where the threats came from. I don't know who it was.
But you got
I shouldn't have gotten them.
Of course.
I just found out.
I'll tell you this week, I got a letter in the mail from some angry idiot who said, I only care about what happened because 98 Jewish people died in a building. And now because, I'll say it on record, but I just want people to know what's out there. I received a letter that said, because the 98 people in the building, the 98 Jewish people in the building were too cheap to put away money for reserves, us Goyim, the rest of us, now have to suffer and pay more money. Just know.
Someone sent you this letter.
Someone sent me this letter. Just know.
Anonymous.
I tell you, I sat down and I read the damn letter to my kids because I want my kids to know what type of thinking is out there. Okay? This person is so angry now that the new laws require him to put away money for his own safety.
Right.
Right? And somehow he thinks that if the people that died were not Jewish, I wouldn't have cared and I wouldn't have pushed for the new laws. But that's morons that are out there. That's people with a, low IQ, very poor education. But that's what's out there. I think we both would have been advocating for mandatory repairs, mandatory inspections, mandatory reserves, regardless of who the 98 people were in there.
I did not know that.
Bottom line. But just know, yes, we both had, kickback.
Homeland Security had to protect them, right? A couple times. I'm so sorry.
Well,
one real quick thing though that kind of brings everything into perspective is 3 people survived in the building and 2 of them were in the unit above your sister.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
I don't want to speak too in depth of their story, but yeah, 3 people did survive, and I mean, once we heard that,
it just happened to be the people that were above.
It was the people. So we had hope until they found the remains of my sister. For 3 weeks. We held on to that hope because Nikki was 804, and it was the unit right above her where she survived. So in your head, you don't sleep, you don't lose hope.
Yes.
You expect that miracle to happen.
Sure. Yeah,
And
it's horrible.
And I know throughout that entire 1 month, many things were happening behind the scenes with all of this. We just wanted our family. We just wanted our family, and until that day where they changed from search and rescue to search and recovery, and those words were.
I can't imagine.
We never lost hope.
I was just, I went to the scene, obviously, and I just went to the memorial fence that was built. It was impossible to look at it without becoming hysterical. All the pictures of everybody who was,
And
you're watching these pictures, and then you're looking at the rubble, and you're saying, oh my God, these people are in that pile. You can't.
It's crazy.
You can't put it together.
It's horrible how we still don't know why the building collapsed over 3 years later.
How is that possible?
And they're about to develop another building.
Right.
And we don't know if that land is safe. We don't know what happened. How are they allowing for another?
Robert took the only video. They used his video as part of the investigation.
Yeah. Rob,
Well, they also stopped.
they did come out with a report recently, I believe, that blames it on the pool deck. Blames it on the fact that some beams were removed from the parking lot, which held up the pool deck. It was amazing. Correct me if I'm wrong. There were actually beams, for one reason or another, that were removed, I think, to make extra parking spaces. Yeah, the beams were actually removed from the parking structure. It's impossible to believe.
And they were load bearing?
Yeah, nothing was built to spec. So what was in the plans wasn't what was built. So.
Yeah. I think that was built at a different time in Florida when, people were willing to turn their head on a lot of things. And I don't think you're going to see that again.
Talk about open concept.
Yeah. I mean, we're in a different world. But I want you to know that everything you did without exception was for a reason, and it worked out. And I'm going to tell you why it worked out. As much of a push as there is now to bring back the way things were, I can tell you Senator Kathleen Passidomo, who's president of the Senate, said, I'm not calling any hearings about this. It's done, period. I was also at a seminar with Representative Vicky Lopez earlier today.
Very grateful for her.
Absolutely. No two ways about it. We had her on the show, and she wasn't supposed to be doing condo law. She was like thrown into this and became an absolute genius.
Yeah.
And a true friend of the people, I will tell you that, and a true friend of safety. No question about it. And I can tell you, she said not only is the Senate not going to help take away these new laws, but the House of Representatives are not going to cooperate either.
Well, the governor said he's going to leave it up to the legislature to decide.
I can tell you, the legislature understands now.
Right.
For the next few years, it might be a little tough.
The Band-Aid's ripped off.
Absolutely. There might be.
And that's only because so many people, for so many years,
exactly,
didn't want to.
So that's why, and I've said it on the show many times, I don't have much sympathy for those people who have, for decades, said, I don't want to pay any reserves. I'm waiving reserves. How can you have much sympathy for that?
No such thing.
I'm sorry, didn't you know? Right. And I had the honor, I don't know if you know, I had the honor and privilege of being asked by 60 Minutes to talk about this and what it means to the state of Florida. And the line that sticks with people the most was, and now the bill has come due.
Tick, tick, tick.
That's the bottom line.
Go to break.
Right.
Yeah.
And like I said at first, it's unfortunate for those who recently purchased these apartments and now have to carry that burden.
That's right.
Of course.
And in this is where I think the legislature should step up again and help with loans, help with other factors.
There was a good point raised today, and I've been talking about it with the people that I know in the banking industry. You have so many people, elderly people included, that have no mortgage in their home. No mortgage. Why isn't they're sitting on a ton of equity. Why isn't the banking industry now coming forward with a loan product that says, okay, Mrs. 85-year-old, you got hit with a $25,000 special assessment now, you're on Social Security, I understand you can't pay it. We're going to take a mortgage on your home. Here's $20,000, $25,000. We'll pay it. So now there's a $25,000 mortgage in your home, occurring interest at 7, 8, 10%, whatever the interest rate's going to be, payable when you sell or, God forbid, when you pass away. Why isn't that a product that the banks are jumping on right now?
Yeah.
It is a no lose.
Right.
If there's equity in the unit, it's no lose. Banks should be helping the citizens of Florida.
I agree.
Around the clock, this should be happening. And banks, quite frankly, should
So should
step
the
up.
state.
I'm sorry?
I think the state
The state should come forward. We're talking about a lot of money. I agree. The state could come forward. I'm sure they spend a lot of money on.
I know the
wasteful
county,
things.
they did a
90-day,
program.
yeah,
Right,
they do.
not nearly enough.
No, not
nearly
enough at all.
County programs.
No, it's
Not
like
at all.
The state is apparently sitting on something like $20 billion in reserves for hurricane problems.
Oh, yeah.
Take some of that.
Help
and use it
out.
now to help
Right,
out
right,
people. No
right.
two ways about it. I'd like to see that happen, and maybe that's our next thing that you and I need to work
And
together,
also-
and the show needs to work on.
Give many thanks to Danny Perez, Representative Danny Perez, who have in the
From
first
Miami.
session
Absolutely.
was
Danny Perez, what I found out is Danny Perez did not want to concede on anything. He wanted these tough laws, period. It was the Senate who wanted them watered down, and Danny said, nope. We either do it my way or we're not going to have the new laws. And he hung tough. And because he hung tough, we have these new laws. So kudos to him.
And he also supported your education bill.
Yes.
Finally.
We got education, That's been something that I've been so passionate about.
Yeah.
So now directors have to get educated each year.
and board members.
And board members have to get educated each
And
year.
that wasn't a law before.
That wasn't the law
They
before.
signed an affidavit.
That
They had
says,
no
I know
idea.
everything about my documents. I'm a genius. And that's how you got certified.
These
And
people-
who's looking over these board members now? Because the biggest problem comes. It's scary knowing that you have a $100,000 special assessment, but it also makes you think twice.
Who's
How did it get to this number?
Yes.
There are people who have their uncles, their aunts, their brothers, their sisters
Yes.
as
As the contractor, sure.
contractors.
Yeah.
Who's looking over them?
Well,
How
I'm
clear-
going to say this. I'll tell you, and this was a very important topic that came up today as well with Representative Lopez. The attorney representing the board better be looking over all of this.
Yes.
Because that attorney does not represent those 4 or 5 board members
That's
over there.
right.
That attorney owes their duty to everyone in that building.
Yeah, but we
Okay.
know that's not the case.
Okay, so you know what? Some attorneys potentially are to blame in certain situations as well. And man, did Representative Lopez make that clear today.
Ooh.
There is just so much going on, but condominium law became the hottest topic, in
Yeah,
the
if you're a
state.
condo, make
Because
sure
it's
your
a-
attorney's board certified.
Yeah, that's another thing. Attorneys can be board certified
Big
as
time.
well. But it's been nothing short of an honor having you with us today. And
Thank you.
it was so great to learn just how much you did in honor of your sister and brother-in-law to get these laws passed. You did a
He's not done though, I think.
I know you're not done, but you did a wonderful thing for your family, and your sister would be very proud of you today. I want you to know that in no uncertain terms, okay?
I appreciate that.
You got it. Hey, let's take our first break. We went very long, but if you'd like to talk to Martin, ask, you don't mind sticking around for the hour, right? If you don't, would love to say something to Martin, that would be great. If you'd love to voice your opinion on any and all these mandatory repairs, mandatory reserves, we'd certainly love to hear from you as well. 717-GLAZER-8, 717-452-9378, or drop us a question or comment in the chat box on YouTube. We'll be back right after this.
There are very large management companies and there are very small management companies. And I think Affinity sits somewhere in the middle of that, where they are big enough to provide you with all of the back of the house services, the accounting, the infrastructure, the support systems, but small enough to be high touch.
We believe at Affinity that we do the 9 to 5 so that you don't have to do that.
So welcome back to Condo Craze and HOAs on our YouTube channel on our new nights, Thursdays at 7 o'clock. And we're excited. We have a new announcement.
Yes, we do. Excited to announce that Affinity Management Services is currently seeking 2 dynamic regional directors, one for Palm Beach County and one for Dade County. And these are really great, incredible opportunities to join a growing team, a wonderful sponsor of ours, right?
So you're
Yeah, absolutely. Again, but this time they're going to be regional directors.
And this is Mr. Sexy.
Which is what, yes, Mr. Sexy was. And you can make a real impact in community association management. Again, that's for Affinity Management. If you or someone you know is interested, you can apply by visiting their website at www.managedbyaffinity.com and click on there and join their team. They would really love to hear from you. And on that note, as a matter of fact,
we were just telling Martin, who unfortunately lost his sister and brother-in-law in the Champlain Towers collapse, that Eric began and invented this course to teach board members, you know, what's what, so that they can understand the, you know, the ins and outs of some of the language that they
you didn't have to take a course, believe it or not, and you could still consider yourself certified by signing a stupid form. Representative Vicky Lopez. I drafted this legislation year after year
It was
after
on
year.
Governor Scott's desk.
Governor Scott's desk, yeah. And finally, Representative Lopez got it passed at the legislature, where now education is mandatory for board members. Okay, there's been a lot of confusion about what's required. Yes, there's a 4-hour course that's required. Yes, I got approval from the DBPR to teach the class. Okay, so it's going to be taught at all of the L&L seminars that are always put out by them year after year. And these are the dates if you want to get certified. Again, now it's mandatory. Education is mandatory. If you don't get certified within 90 days of getting on the board, you are off the board. So heed these dates. Okay, here we go.
Okay, October 9th at the Palm Beach Convention Center. That will be with the Condo, L&L Condo and HOA Expo. Starts at 8 a.m.
All of these classes are 8 a.m. Okay, October 9th, Palm Beach. 6 days later, October 15th at the Broward Convention Center.
And then October 24th, Tampa Bay Convention Center.
Yeah, change of plans. I will be teaching in Bradenton on October 9th.
Are you going to wear
October 29th?
Are you going to wear a costume? What are you going to go as?
This face don't need a costume. October 29th, Bradenton.
November 13th, Orlando, Orange County Convention Center.
Okay.
And again, he teaches everything from inspection, reserve funding, importance of the from time to time language, everything, your financial,
the important
whatever.
thing is everything we just spoken about is mandatory to be taught at these courses.
The new laws.
Board members must learn everything that we're talking about today. So that's a wonderful thing. You need to come. If you want to register for the course, again, just go to www.condocrazeandhoas.com. Can't wait to see everybody. Okay, on that note, how about we take our first call?
Sure. Let's go to Nora from Tampa.
Ooh,
Nora, how are you?
Hi, great. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure thing. How can we help?
I have a question about seeing the financial reports.
Right.
As a resident, I requested a copy of the financial report package for July that's given to the board members.
Yes.
And the management company said they don't know if they can do that. They sent me the July balance sheet and just general information on the reserve accounts.
Okay, if you're talking about the year-end financial report, is that what you're talking about?
No, the monthly report that shows who was paid for what,
Okay.
the expenses.
All right, so let me say a couple of
More
things.
detailed than just the balance sheet.
Okay, we're going to need to go quick, so do me a favor, Rob, put her on hold, mute her, so I can just tell everybody generally how it works. Number one, condominiums and HOAs don't have to create reports that don't exist, okay? They can give you, if there's an official record that exists, they have to give it to you. If you want a specific report that says, I want a list, for example, of everybody in foreclosure, that everybody in collections, they don't have to give you that list, right? If there's no list, so if the financial records that you're asking for don't exist, then they don't have to give it to you. That's number one. They don't have to create a special report for you. What they do have to give you, though, is every year you have to do the year-end financial report, basically within 120 days of the end of your fiscal year, and that you better have completed that report on time. Generally, it's due by the end of April. And that report, absolutely 110% is available to every single unit owner. Okay? If you want a check ledger, a copy of the check ledger, so Martin, like you said before, you can see who's getting what money for repairs. Yes, you're entitled to that. You can get a copy of the check ledger, but not necessarily entitled to reports that don't exist.
Wait, one
Yeah.
thing.
Sure.
To my chagrin, Jane Hewitt says, I just completed the DBPR 4-hour class.
Okay. That's an online class. To me, there's nothing like taking the
I
class.
tried to say you can
in person.
teach it.
Right, but now I
No,
can't.
you can't.
Now I can't.
But she took it from the DBPR.
DBPR.
They're
Again,
not attorneys.
no, non-attorneys, and you're sitting in front of a screen, and you're not, you're not asking people questions. There's no give and take, and I think if you're not doing that, you're really missing out on what is the best part of the course.
But she's certified.
That's your call, right? Back to the phones.
All right. Do we go back to Nora?
No, he answered her question.
Okay.
Nope. Yeah, next call.
What about me?
Who's you? Who snuck in there?
Oh, that was Nora. That was Nora. I think she had something else
Nora, you
to
have
say.
something-
No, let's go to the next call. We got to move fast. Here.
Okay. So next call is, I think it's Olin from Tampa.
Olin, how are you?
Hello. Hey, good. How are you?
Okay.
My question exactly about the new certification.
Good.
On the statute, it says newly elected or appointed directors must complete the department-approved education. Okay, newly appointed or elected directors. But what about the ones that are sitting there?
Right. This is
been there for
correct.
35 years?
He's right. This has been in a state of flux. There is no answer on this. Yeah. So it's not like, and by the way, the condo statute is different from the HOA statute. It's very, very, very confusing. It seems like the HOA statute, you have to do it within 90 days from now, from July 1st. Is that what was intended? Probably not. So if you've been certified, the condo statute makes it clear you have until June 30th of next year.
Well, what if you've
But
been
the
on
HOA
board?
statute, well, that's what this condo statute addresses. If you've been on already prior to July 1st, you have until June 30.
Okay.
Okay? The
So no matter
HOA
what,
statute's
yeah.
very unclear. It doesn't say that. So HOA members are freaking out saying, do I have to do it within 30 days of July 1st? I'm not sure if you do or don't, but why not? Just do it.
Why not?
There's so much to learn. Why not just do
fun.
it, get it out of the way? But there is no answer to this gentleman's question. It happens to be a very, very good question. But the statute is poorly written.
Yeah, okay. I'm just wondering because if you're newly elected or appointed, after 90 days, you get disqualified. But
No.
people that are sitting there for 20 years don't
No.
never get disqualified.
I wouldn't disqualify you, right, if you've already been on the board. But if you run again and you get reelected, then yes, now the 90-day requirement kicks in. Okay? That's how, the HOA statute wasn't drafted with as much clarity as the condo statute. Okay? But where do you live? Where are you calling
Right.
from?
Tampa.
So I'm going to be teaching in Tampa. What date?
You have people asking,
we're
okay,
fine, uh,
Tampa.
24th?
I'll be in Tampa on October 24th. So register for the damn course. Let's not fight about it.
Asked about West Palm, 9th, October 9th.
Yeah,
for West
we'll be
Palm.
there. So I'm hoping to see you then. Okay?
Thank you.
You got it, buddy. Let's do this.
Thank you.
We're running so late that the guest has been so great. We're running really late. So let's take what should have been our bottom of the hour break. Keep the calls coming in. 717-452-9378. 717-452-9378. Look what Robert has just put up on your screen.
Yep, there it
Thank
is.
you, Robert. What a beautiful slide. Everything is mentioned on there. Exactly where we're going to be when.
Place, who,
Time,
where,
place,
when.
and Jen, what you got to do to register, okay? Or drop us a question in the chat box on YouTube. We'll be back right after this. Keep the calls coming in.
Rimkus Consultants offer the professional expertise to help condominium and cooperative communities provide safe, compliant buildings for their tenants. We have more than 170 Florida licensed engineers and architects who are experienced with local regulations and can assist with Senate Bill 4D compliance. We can help with milestone structural inspections, capital expenditure evaluations, structural integrity reserve studies, and developer transition reports. Focusing on energy, resilience, maintainability, and sustainability, our experts can help with every phase of the building life cycle. For mitigation after a catastrophic event, building restoration, repair and remediation consulting, or Senate Bill 4D inspections, please visit rimkus.com.
All over the world, people have plumbing problems. These problems can be expensive and destructive to fix. Have you ever wondered if there was a way to take care of your plumbing problems without destruction and an outrageous price tag? Welcome to Pipelining Technologies, Inc., where we specialize in fixing your problems without demolition and minimum cutting by means of pipelining. Pipelining is the ability to take a pipe damaged by root intrusion or long-term deterioration and make it new. By means of inserting an epoxy-saturated liner into the pipe and allowing it to harden or cure, leaving behind a brand new pipe.
That sounds great. How can I get pipelining in my home, commercial building, or condominium?
Simply fill out our online contact form and a pipelining representative will get in touch with you in a timely fashion. Or call us directly at 561-853-5463.
You have a fantastic guest here. Martin lost his sister and his brother-in-law in the Champlain Tower collapse in Surfside, and we were talking about that at the start of the show. Then we got into all of the education courses that are coming up, and a lot of people are asking about that.
Yep.
So,
well, you know what? We put them up there, and they're mandatory, and I expect to see you in person. Yeah, I just have to say it that way. You'd be foolish if you don't. And by the way, there's a reporting requirement to the DBPR as well. They're sending out a form that every director is going to have to sign, verifying that they're certified by taking an educational course.
Notarized?
I don't know about that, but it's a government document to me. It's as if you're swearing to it.
That's right.
So, yeah. So
Well, you give them a certificate.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
They can send the copy of that
Correct.
with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Back to the phones, Rob. Who we got?
Let's go to Bill from Hollywood.
Hey, Bill.
Hello, Eric.
How are you, Bill?
I'm good. I'm affectionately known to you as Bill Murray.
How are you, Bill?
Bill Murray.
Bill Murray from Saturday Night Live. What an honor. Kidding.
First of all, to your guest tonight, Martin, my sincerest and deepest sympathy on your loss for your sister.
Thank you, Bill.
In the grand scheme of things that we're doing here, Eric, it's almost ridiculous when you're thinking about these issues about money.
Of course.
When you have this guest here today that lost, along with the other 96 members, a family member, over the issues of money. It's just ridiculous.
That's exactly what happened. You know, every time I teach the class and I say, do you know why the building fell? We can argue all day long. Was it the parking structure? Was it the pool deck? Was the building next door built too close? And the real answer is it collapsed because of money. That's why the building collapsed. So you're 100% right, Bill.
Yeah. And the greed factor that comes in.
Yeah.
And the politics that come, all of it. To my question, sir. You recently sent me an engineering report from the Pipe LT company, the pipelining company. And I've done a lot more investigation as I'm having these issues with my condo association. My main question tonight, and you can describe to your viewers the importance of this report, is that's all encompassing. This new ruling has to do with plumbing and code and certification, and has nothing to do whether you're a 3-story or higher.
Correct.
That. And I'm getting. Go right ahead.
Yeah, okay, so let me explain what is going on out there. There are various different companies that are doing the pipelining method of repairing and or replacing pipes. In other words, they're advertising that instead of removing all your pipes, right, there's a method to put a new pipe within inside that broken pipe, right? And that's called pipelining. But the way a lot of companies are doing the job, it is very unfortunate. What we're seeing is they use what's called a gapping method. And what a gapping method is where there's a hole, you just fill the hole.
Like a stint.
Yeah, basically, yes. Yeah. And that, now pursuant to a ruling, where's that ruling from again? Is it the Board of Rules and Appeals, or?
I have it open, but put it to this day, there was an individual owner that ended up suing the association, and he sued the Florida compliance and permitting, and multiple lawsuits over this material that turned out to be structurally not sufficient.
Right.
And basically, you're out the window.
Well, the procedure of gapping is now, from my understanding, no longer allowed. Okay. It's done. So you have to line the whole pipe. Now you don't just put a Band-Aid where the hole is. The pipe has to be relined. So those of you out there who are looking to do pipe relining, you better make sure you do it the right way, that you use somebody who's relining the whole pipe rather than using the gapping method. Is very important. Yeah. Because I'm seeing pictures. You would not believe some of the pictures I've seen when the job is done wrong. Oof. The pipe just deteriorates, goes bad quickly, and all of a sudden you have a much more expensive job than before. Of course. Okay, never do it on the cheap. Cheap is expensive.
Your permitting departments are being up on these rules and laws.
They should.
They're like everybody else, overworked, overwhelmed.
Absolutely. Bill, thank you so much for the call. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
We'll talk again, Eric.
You got it. Who else we got?
Those are all of our callers right now.
Okay.
Okay. Let's go back to the board. On the board, I tell you, we have some Jane Hewitt writes in. Thank you. I'll sign up for Eric's class when he's in Palm Beach. Just very happy to see that, Jane. I appreciate it.
Oh, you have this friend who was working at the Trade Center.
Oh, terrible.
Recovery.
That is terrible. Saying it's a tough job.
Mentally devastating.
Mentally devastating. I get it. People are giving us kudos for switching to Thursday night. They enjoy it. I thank you very, very much for that. And I'm sure it's going to work out. We'll have fun. Yeah. Okay, instead of Sundays. Let's do this. We got to take our final break of the hour. It's running really late. Keep the calls coming in. 717-452-9378. 717-452-9378. Be back right after this.
In South Florida, the transition from bright sunshine to heavy rain and hurricanes can take a toll on your property's exterior and structural integrity. Cracked stucco, spalled concrete, they're more than eyesores. They can signal deeper issues. Now, with new Florida laws involving structural integrity requirements, we want to help you meet your milestone inspections and maintain the durability and beauty of your building. Since 2004, PD has been the trusted expert in structural concrete restoration, painting, and waterproofing for condominiums and commercial properties. We address the core of the problem, restoring your concrete's strength and stability to give your property a fresh, attractive appearance for many years to come. Visit pdpaintinginc.com or call us today, 888-416-3204, or scan the QR code to save our contact information.
We are DMI Paving and Seal Coating, Florida's parking lot experts. We specialize in asphalt paving and repair, including pothole repair, seal coating using JC7 or polytar, concrete curbs, ramps, and walkways, and striping and pavement marking, as well as ADA compliance. We service commercial properties, including homeowners associations, apartment communities, shopping malls, warehouses, stadiums and arenas, and more. Experience is worth more than anything in an industry like ours, and our staff has decades of it. We have specialized equipment for any job, regardless of size, saving you time and money. DMI has a reputable history. We have been in business since 1956. We serve the state of Florida from 6 locations. Let us bid on your next parking lot project. Visit us online at dmipavingandsealcoating.com.
And welcome back to the final segment of Condo Craze and HOAs here on our new night on YouTube. Our
Thursday nights at 7.
Thank you for joining us, everybody that
Absolutely.
made the switch. And, you know, I know it's different. It's different for us. We've been doing it for 16 years on a Sunday at 11.
Sun Sky writes in, this is awesome to have on Thursday nights.
Good.
Glad you think so.
And we want to thank Martin for being our guest here today.
Thank you.
Martin, you're a busy guy. During the break, we were talking about the fact that I believe to this day, there's no memorial at the
Nothing. That's what I've been fighting for the past 3 years, and it's hard to say that we don't know why the building collapsed, and they're about to put a shovel to the ground and put another building up there
Champlain
instead
Towers,
of
yeah.
a full memorial on that site, which is what should happen.
Yes.
But putting aside what's right and what's wrong, we don't know why it collapsed.
Right.
Right, of course.
And how, before the investigation is closed, are we allowing, is the state of Florida allowing, Miami-Dade County, the city of Surfside, how are they allowing another building to go up?
Yeah, understood. How are they allowing it to go up without no agreement on honoring the 98 victims?
Nothing. It's an insult to all of us. It's turn the page, let's forget, let's build over.
No. It's got to be.
The Freedom Tower in New York, they built that
You know,
memorial.
the fear, I guess, if a developer's building this, I guess the fear of a developer is, how am I going to be able to sell condo units if there's going to be a plaque that 98 people died there, you know? So that's what's important in a condo developer's mind. Not to do the right thing, but to
That it's a bad look.
that it's a bad look.
Well, that's why he was the only bidder on this land, because
Because
really,
he was the only one that bid on this land.
because people would be afraid to build on a site. They don't think they're going to be able to sell units on a site where a tragedy happened.
Well, that's true.
But if the city is going to let you build, how do you not make it mandatory that at least a plaque
Nothing
goes up? It's just hard to believe. Robin, you had something you wanted to say in that regard, I think.
Well, I was just going to mention it's the developer put the trash pickup right next to the memorial, just to let people know the level of this development.
Oh, I see. Okay.
What you're saying, there is a memorial?
There's supposed to be a memorial on 88th Street, which is, I guess, just north of Champlain South. And that strip of that street is basically at one point was going to host the garbage pickup, and there was a big effort. Martin and a lot of local Surfsiders went out and advocated against this, and the developer, the DMAC developer, actually perjured himself in a commission meeting, a judicial meeting, by saying that FDOT told him to put the trash site there. Shortly after, FDOT came out saying, "We never told you to do that."
Wow.
And well, from what I understand, they did move the trash site, right?
We don't know yet.
They put the trash where a memorial should have been. Does anything surprise me when it comes to development? And again, anything is allowed because the bottom line is it's always been kiss the butt of the developer all the time, without exception. That's how Florida's been. Hopefully, we're going to see a change. The next thing on your mind is to have
there's still more legislation that needs to be passed. Of course, very thankful for what has been passed. Vicky Lopez, Danny Perez,
Absolutely.
the representatives.
They've been great.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And now we see how it's affecting and how the burden that these property owners have to carry, these apartment owners. So how can we help them? How can the state legislators step in, provide interest-free loans, provide anything in that case? And also, I get calls all the time, messages all the time of videos or things in that aspect saying, my board is doing this wrong. My garage is falling apart. There's leaks everywhere.
Sure.
Who do I report them to? I don't know.
Well, the only thing I'll tell you is this. The legislature just gave the DBPR a whole bunch of powers that they didn't have before. They gave them jurisdiction over basically anything you could think of and doubled the amount of their budget. and gave them a whole bunch of new investigators.
Can you report your board members for?
Now it's basically anything goes. The
Or
BBPR
if something's
will
wrong with your building,
BBPR.
if something's wrong with your building,
Yeah.
you see a column collapse in your garage.
Yep.
Who do you report that to?
If that, I would report it to my local building
Yeah,
official,
seems
because
like
I will tell you, if I'm the local building official, I'm scared to death now when someone makes a report to me of cracked columns, cracked concrete. I don't want to be the guy that did investigate that, and God forbid another accident happens.
Yeah, but board members are also scared to report it because they want to be reelected and don't want to.
100%. But the unit owners in that building, they should report it. You know, there should.
I'm just saying it so they're aware where to report this.
They should. They should know to report it to their local building. Okay. So by now, everybody should know.
Or should they go to the attorney that represents them?
The attorney is not going to speak to the most of the people that live in the community. I will tell you that when I get emails like that, how bad things are, I don't just throw it away because the board tells me not to talk to unit owners. I take that email and say, wait a minute, look what I just got from a unit owner. I'm putting this board on notice. They have to do something.
Good.
You have to. I mean, how do you not do that, right? You don't want to be the attorney that ignored an email like that. Right. You want to make sure you put the board on notice.
So reach out to the board attorney.
Absolutely no harm in doing that. Absolutely not.
At least you know that he will have the ear of the board and maybe even the DBPR.
Some attorneys will do something about it. Some attorneys won't. That's the reality.
Put it in writing.
Yes, always.
Always keep a record of everything.
100%. And what you're doing is fantastic, amazing. Like I said, your sister would be very proud. Very, very proud. You've done her well.
You have.
Okay. That brings us to the end of the first Thursday night show ever. You've made it a fantastic show.
Yes,
thank you so much. Much appreciated. And we'll continue to be here Thursday nights at 7 from now on. Get used to it, everybody. Again, sign up for the classes. Of course, if you need legal help off the air, give Glazer and Sachs a call. 954-983-1112. 954-983-1112. And we'll see you and speak to you again next Thursday at 7 o'clock. Have a great, safe week, everybody.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Robert.